Which parasha? Vayishlach. Vayishlach. Very, very interesting parasha. I'm going to talk about. You always complain, huh?
Never.
Always. Talk about two different concepts to see maybe there somehow we can connect them. We have the get together between Yaakov and Esav after a separation of about 20 years. They're meeting again together, and that get together creates a lot of problems for us. By the way, this is for Ilui Nishmat who? Elazar or Eliezer? Eliezer ben Bela Bracha. Give me all the names at one time, you know. So Yaakov comes to this parlay after he receives a divine promise that he is going to come back in peace to his parents' home or to the land of Israel. And more than that, right before this meeting, he meets what we call Malachei Elohim. He meets angels. Of course, you know that the word malach not necessarily means an angel. Sometimes it just means a messenger. Okay? And those angels come to greet him on his way to the Holy Land and to escort him along that way. However, after this whole entire thing, he sends other malachim. Now, we don't know if he sends people, he sends angels. We assume it's people, to his Esav, his brother, which seems very bizarre, because the way he sends his messengers is to basically kind of a wimpish kind of a way. You know, he's like, please, Esav, or Esau, my brother, you know, nachnu chaverim, you know, to ask for mercy for his family and his own soul. So first of all, I don't understand. Didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu promise you're going to come back? So why do you need to send these people? And if you do, why do you do it in such a way? How can we understand such a thing? Is Yaakov, Chas v'Shalom, has a problem with his emunah, with his Jewish belief in this divine promise that promised him to bring him back? Or maybe by nature, he's a little chicken, you know? He's a softy that maybe could explain why, regardless of the promise that God had promised him, he's still afraid. However, the Chumash tells us that at the night before he met with Esav, with his brother, he was wrestling with what we call Elokim, with divine creatures, spirits, ve'adam, and men. Okay? And he stayed alone, without any shelter, without any protection at that night, and he's being attacked by, according to the Midrash, it seems to him, like to be like an armored thug, some, you know, I don't know, hillbilly that comes from out of nowhere and tries to attack him, or according to other explanations, he recognized it from the beginning that it wasn't a person; it was rather a divine person. So it depends how you go along with this. But whether this concept or the other concept, whether it was a listim, whether it was a thug that came to harass him at night, or whether it was some kind of a divine creature that came at night, there's something very, very terrible stands in front of him, and he needs to wrestle with it basically all night long. And he does wrestle with it all night long. And later on it says, the Pasuk says, Sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim. You fought with men and God. Because, you know, I had such an urge, I tell you, to go into the Kabbalistic aspects of this thing, but I I said, I want it so badly, but I don't think I should. So without getting into this too much, but there's a lot that is not said rather than said, and maybe leave it like that. However, what Yaakov is pulling is really like superior heroism to fight by himself at night in darkness, all by himself. All by himself. I'm going to tell you this. That also has to do a lot with the way we are. Or the way it would manifest itself into the future in his children, us, fighting alone, at dark, at scary situations. So if you want to know how to go about it, you better sit down and learn or try to learn exactly what happened that night. Or maybe you should learn some Kung Fu, I don't know. But it's always a good idea. But 6 hour, 320 also will be pretty good in that case. For those of you who don't know what it is, you can Google it. However, after such a heroic fight, he goes back and he's kissing up and like being so, soft with his brother. I mean, the answer is, of course, very clear and very obvious. Yaakov Avinu is not a softy. He's not a chicken. And he's not a coward. You have to understand. He's not afraid of danger that might face him or his family. He's aware of dangers. He says, okay, if we got to face it, we got to face it. He's not afraid of external violence or force that's going to come his way. However, he is afraid from something else, from self-blaming, internal conflict that comes out, that would come up because of his action. Why? Because he knows somewhere deep down inside that he wasn't so fair with his brother. And we have many times, without getting into this, many times we have cases of multiple brothers or siblings, with one being the favorite. Don't think that the favorite child doesn't know that he's the favorite. However, if he would not act upon it appropriately, he would make his brothers his enemies. And that's on him. So if you're one of those lucky ones that you are your parents' so-called favorite child, you should really take it into heart and reach out for your brother. Kohanenu, Yesham. By the way, for those of you who are not here, let me tell you, Ari made us here the most unbelievable chulent, and it is absolutely amazing, and it smells all the way the whole way like a true Jewish bet medrash. Yesham, אני חושב ישם, תיקח ותשתה, יש פה משקאות טובים. זה טוב, תשתה חזק, יהיה גבור. Okay, so if you're one of those favorite kids, or in any way you've been shown favoritism, it's on you. It's on you. You need to reach out to your brothers or your siblings and make it out for them. And that's a very big lesson to all of us to remember. Everybody likes to be the favorite. But that's not the way of Avraham Avinu. Come to question your true, I wouldn't say Judaism, but your true spirit, your Jewish spirit, by acting upon and doing what is the right thing to do. whatever, even if your parents favorite you, you say, hey, it's not my fault, they favorite me, it's their choice. You still need to do that. You still need to reach out to your brother, because otherwise he will be your enemy. He will be after you. And you know what? He's got the right. He's got the right. So Yaakov Avinu knows that. Yaakov Avinu knows that he was the favorite. You know that he was sinned. He sinned for his brother. And that happened about 20 years ago. However, because of that, he knows that he does not have the courage to fight his brother with the same courage that he has to fight other people, external, whether the humans or the angels. Why? Because his conscience is really it's not that clean towards what he had done to his brother, or what happened to his brother because of him. He accepts this self-humbling, I wouldn't say humiliation, but humbling himself, as just so he would not have to fight against his brother. He understands that. Yaakov Avinu was a stark guy, he was very stark. He says, for my brother to fight me, because of that I'm going to lose. I don't have the courage, because my conscience is not clean. And Rabotai, it might be a little longer, but really stay with me until the end, because it's very important. This has to do directly with the acts of Shimon and Levi. So you would not be able to face your brother and fight him. Of course, if you're a dirty person, you would, because your conscience is dirty, but you don't care about that. But if you're a truthful person, you know that you cannot fight. You don't have the courage to fight your brother, and you're going to lose. So therefore, humble yourself and reach out to your brother. Humble yourself. That's a lesson that many people in very far places should take into heart. And he understands that he needs to make a kapara for this, because the injustice, to a certain extent, that happened to Esav, to a certain extent, because of Yaakov as well.
Could have helped him.
Absolutely, could have helped him.
Maybe.
No, he could have helped him. Don't say maybe he could have helped him. Even if it was maybe, even if this help would not manifest differently than anything, as I said to you before, you got to do what is right. You got to do what is right for you to do. And you should try to help your brother. It's very nice that you're sitting down in the tent and you're learning. But how about your brother? And again, without getting into this, we spoke about it years before. Yitzchak Avinu, and you realize this. And Yitzchak Avinu was an unbelievable man. And he didn't give up on his son until the last moment. He knew what his son was. That's why he wanted to give him the bracha. That's why Yitzchak was so upset when he realized that Yaakov tricked him for whatever reason. Because he knew that by taking the bracha that he intended for Esav, Esav was doomed forever. Without getting into what is a test and if it was a test and so on and so forth, but that's something that we should all take into heart, Rabotai. Maybe we would not have this animosity between us and the descendants of Esav if it wasn't for that. I don't know. Maybe, as you said. Think about it. Okay? So, and this is not it is not so far and so foreign, and we kind of making up things on our own. If you go into the psyche of Yaakov Avinu, by saying that he felt guilty and so on and so forth. If you look carefully at the psukim, you would see that first of all, few times the pasuk talks about the mincha, the offering, in which he sends Esav, and when he meets Esav, he talks about minchati, my offering. But after that, later on, when it's clear that there is an aspect of making up here, or peace in terms of that. Yaakov has what we could call it a Freudian slip when he says, "Kachna et birchati asher uvat lach." Take my blessing in which was brought to you. He doesn't say minchati, but he had a Freudian slip here. He said birchati. And you could say that, yes, it was a slip or whatever it is, because Yaakov Avinu remembers in the Parashat of the Bracha when he stole it from Esav, what he had done. Therefore, he's coming now with a peace offering to his brother. He says that peace offering is in a way a form of giving the bracha back to his brother in which he had hurt. Esav was crying. I know the Mefarshim say that Esav blah 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 blah, but if you look at the psukim themselves straight out from last week's parasha, or whatever it was that they gave him the bracha, 2 weeks ago, Esav was crying. Vayitzak tza'aka gdola. He was devastated. Devastated. Listen, I believe in the concept of tshuva, that even the biggest criminal might have this moment of epiphany when he wants to fix his ways. And then, of course, he doesn't change his friends, he doesn't change the environment that he's in, and he falls back into the cycle that he's at, sometimes even worse than before. But Vayitzak tza'aka gdola, and screamed. I really believe at that moment he really wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to be fixed. He knew, but you think Esav didn't know that he's bad. He didn't know that he was, quote unquote, pissing off his parents. Of course he knew. But sometimes you get caught into a cycle and you don't know how to break away from it. So you telling me, you feeling bad for Esav? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know Esav, we like to paint him Rasha, because at a certain point it serves us right. But maybe we could have helped him. And you know why? Because I'm sure that each and every one of us knows an Esav that got caught in some bad cycle and couldn't get out of it. And we were too righteous to do anything for it. And all the people that we knew are not busy doing holy things. They're doing self-glorification. Oh, I'm so important. I'm the chief rabbi. I'm this, I'm that. Roll your sleeve, take your hat off, and go into the dirt and pull people out. Don't just sit there on your throne, glorifying yourself, how good you are, how smart you are, how many pages of Gemara you know by heart. How can you sleep at night when you know that this is happening? How could we sleep at night when we know that this is happening? And I'm sure you know what I'm saying. So, in a way, he's trying to tell Esav also, I'm sorry for what I've done for you. And that night, after this meeting, this very important meeting that they had, he fights this the big battle that he has, and we call it Ma'avak Elohim ve'anashim, the fight of man and God, which later on causes him to change his name, or to have his name changed from Yaakov to Israel, which shows us a very, very, the name Yaakov really shows a certain level of not so straight. Let's call it this way. Vayakveni ze pa'amayim, and and so on and so forth, without getting into his an unstraight path in human existence and human behavior. And later on, that name was changed to Israel. And this is also was the passage through the stages that Yaakov went in developing himself and coming to this as a becoming more complete person, and becoming so complete In other words, when they give him the name, it's not like today you go to some rabbi tells you, oh, your name, oh, yes, Bet Mazal, you'll change your name from I don't know, Yitzchak to Chatul, Yalla. Yikare Shmo B'Yisrael Chatul, yeah? You know? We're just changing names like this. The name changing signifies something much deeper and a certain transformation that occurs and happens to the person. And in a way, we have a new person here. And the new person after this fight was not more Yaakov. Yaakov was left there. Yaakov entered the fight. Yaakov entered the ring. Yaakov entered the octagon. But Yaakov did not come out of there. Israel came out of it. And Rabotai, it's the same thing to Am Israel. We had prophets. We had wise men. We had patriarchs and matriarchs and judges, and God spoke to us on a daily basis. And for almost 2,500 years we haven't heard a word from God. And yet Am Israel is in darkness. And Am Israel was able through this darkness make himself more complete, because we had the Beit HaMikdash. We had the korbanot, sacrifice. We had everything. But one thing we did not have, Rabotai, we didn't have emunah. To go for 2,500 years, out of them almost 2,000 years in exile, and to believe and to sit today here and believe in God, that's not the same nation that was there. That's a new nation. That's the Jewish nation. It's not Israel. Am Israel. It's Am Yehudi. That's the emunah of the Jew. We go through this ourselves. In your dark times, in your dark places that you're going to go through, how are you going to come out of your dark places when you have the battles, those battles? How are you going to come out? You're not going to come out. Needless to say, you're not going to succeed by winning if you have emunah. If you have emunah, you'll make it. You don't have emunah, you'll be swallowed into the black hole of existence. You'll be swallowed into this black hole. And you got to take this into heart, Rabotai. You have to understand. Yaakov is doing here two different maneuvers. He's hard when it needs to be hard, and he's soft when it needs to be soft. And there's not a problem. He's the ultimate yin-yang. Us. He knows. We are external. We play a game in our lives. We are Mr. Cool. We're Mr. Tough. And we don't know when to be soft, and we don't know when to be hard, and we don't know how to fight, and we become 50-year-old kids. We never transform ourselves. And that's very sad. So, after this fight and this transformation, he was changed from the reality, he changed Metziut. He changed reality from the reality of Yaakov to the reality of Israel. It's a different entity, different reality. You can change your reality as well. And you should know that further generations were aware of that as well, of course. And about 1,000 years, at least 1,000 years after the Parashat of Yaakov and Esav, the prophet Hosea says, "Babeten akav et achiv," in the stomach, he was following and trying to pass his brother. In other words, in the awareness, the total awareness of the nation of Am Yisrael, that memory of of Yaakov Avinu maybe doing something inappropriate was stated within the collective notion of Am Yisrael. And maybe about 100 or so years after Hosea, we have the prophet Yirmiyahu. He gives a tochecha to his people, to his generation, on the false relationships that they have, about the hypocrisy, about the cheating and the lack of honesty that exists, between them, with which they interact with one another. He says, "Kol ach," every brother, Akov Yaakov. Not only you are trying to trick him, you're trying to double trick him. How about us today? Rabotai, in the time of Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah the prophet, do I hear an amen? In the time of Yirmiyahu, when they were doing this, cheating each other, being dishonest with each other, hypocritical with one another, they went to exile. You want to go to exile? Well, you keep on doing what you're doing. You want to be saved from exile? Well, you better change your ways. However, I'm going to tell you this exile that we are going to go through now, chas v'shalom, ain't coming back from it. It's a black hole. You go in, you're not coming out. You better change your ways. You better tell the people who are hypocrites, who lie, who try to cheat and deceive, even if they know more Torah than you. Excuse me. Was ist das? Kol ist esto. Что такое? Elie. Change your ways. With all due respect, His Majesty, but you stink. With all due respect. What's going to be? They're going to bark at you? Bite them. Don't be afraid. Akov Yaakov, he says. Yirmiyahu says, Akov Yaakov. In other words, it seems like he's talking about Yaakov Avinu, but he's really talking to his people, and he shows them, Yirmiyahu shows them their wrongdoing by using this metaphor of Yaakov and Esav as brothers and what was done. And that path, that way that goes from Yaakov to Israel, as I said to you before, is the path that was left to all of us to go into. And we all know that we're not there where we should be. And it's a process we need to go all be involved with. So, and the spiritual process takes time, Sabbatai. Where's Yeshua? He's there. I was thinking about it. The spiritual process is something that takes time. But you got to be on the way. And when you are on that journey of the spiritual path, you need to reevaluate and change every aspect of your life and how you look at things. Then don't look the same anymore, and you cannot look at the world with the same eyes as you looked at them before. You can't. I got to change it all. Unless you're just full of it. But if you want to become more mystical, more spiritual, got to change everything. And that includes the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you talk, the way you behave, the way you think. Did I say sleep? Sleep too. Everything has to be different. And that brings us to the ordeal of, going to be a little late, the ordeal of the issue of Shechem, which is a very big ordeal in the chronicles of Am Yisrael, actually of, should I say, of Yaakov, or should we say Bet Yaakov, not only Yaakov, Bet Yaakov. His children, that from them developed Am Yisrael. And we should say that the act of Shechem, what happened, what they did over there, is there is a tzedakah, there is a justification. It was justified, as they say, right? There was a reason for that. I mean, he raped their sister and he violated her and he sodomized her. Well, there's a justification for that. Look, that's what was coming to you. However, and of course they say, Hachezona yaseh et achotenu. Is our sister going to be like a whore? And we going to sit there quietly? Now I'm going to ask you this. Are you thinking about all the other Jewish girls? Do you care about them? Are you going to do anything for them? You're sitting there quiet, not doing anything? I'm not saying you should go and start circumcising and then killing a whole entire city. That's not the way to do it. But I'm talking about your caring. After all, every Jewish girl is your sister. Do you care about them? Do you care about the fact that there are thousands of girls in Israel that convert to Islam and they go with Arabs and then they don't become slaves? Do you care about girls in, I don't know where, in this college or that college, or, Binghamton and all the other places, it becomes like a big party? Yeah. You don't think about it when it's your turn, when it's somebody else's sister. But how about your sister? You got to do something about it. Increase the awareness of the Kedusha of Am Yisrael to people. Talk to people. You guys go to college. You meet people. You go to work. Meet people. Encourage them to become more sanctified, to holy, to hold themselves. Now, Yaakov Avinu doesn't say, and these are the last words which are said about this parasha. Achezona yaseh et achotenu. And Yaakov Avinu doesn't answer the claims of Shimon and Levi. He looks at their answers and look at what they say. And what he's doing here is very interesting. For years, I'll be honest with you, at a certain point, I don't agree with Yaakov Avinu. But that's because I am a very small person. But Yaakov Avinu is doing something amazing here. He doesn't answer. They said something and he doesn't answer. So if you were a small person like me, you would think that, hey, as they say in Yeshiva, Shtach busted him, right? That's it, he has nothing to say. However, Yaakov Avinu is actually measuring something here. And he's measuring, he says, their action was really L'Shem Shamayim. Was the action were really pure? And we see that later on, years after, decades after, when Yaakov Avinu gives the blessing and kind of hints to the future of every nation, every tribe, it seems like he's kind of cursing his brothers for what they did. And in a way, Yaakov looks pitiful, and it looks like he's doing something that is not right? And that became a curse for generations. And he tells Shimon and Levi, he says, he reveals that. And he reveals what he's saying. And he reveals that by Shimon and Levi there was a certain moral deterioration. The anger. And the need for revenge is justified. But that destroyed that soul. And because of that, they came for a spiritual decline, and later on it affected even the brother Yosef. Another favorite child that caused damage to everybody. Favoritism is very bad. Yaakov explained to them that there is a need to soften and spread that, so you won't be so focused that need or power of revenge, as it says in Perek Memtet. It says, "Achalkam beYaakov va'afitzam beYisrael." I'll divide them among Yaakov, and I would spread them among Israel. Those positive urges that they wanted to do, they said they were genuinely concerned about the sister, have to be softened out, and they have to be filtered down, because it's very bad for you ultimately. It seems like Shevet Levi kind of understood that and became a little softer, and became more, took the power of revenge and get it under control. And he married it, and because of that, they had a Keter Torah and Keter Keuna from him. There was Moshe Rabbeinu that came from him, and Aaron and his family came from him. And why is that? Because he took that zealousy, that quality of zealousy, and he transformed it. The Shevet Levi transformed into something positive, put into appropriate. However, Shevet Shimon was not able to do that and to really root and channel that power of revenge into something positive until, and the proof of that is, of course, we have the act of Zimri. Which Shevet was Zimri? Shimon. Who speared them, shish kebab them? Levi. You see how it works, and he did something. What he did was a public destruction of human image when he had relations with this Midianite, whatever she is, Midianite, so a princess in the middle of the camp. That's a destruction of human morals. And what it is to be human. Animals have relations in the streets, in the open. Humans don't. And lately you hear more and more, this one got arrested on a plane, this one on the bus. I mean, look, what is happening to us as a society is scary. It's a destruction of the figure that we call a human. So when this action starts, right, and so on and so forth, he acts from an uncontrolled impulsiveness, and he has relations with Kozbi Batsur in public. And in that occasion, exactly comes Pinchas, which is a descendant of Shevet Levi, and does an act of zealousy, and he kills them both, and by doing so counteracts and destroys the zealousy of Zimri. However, in this shape, Pinchas express what it really is, zealousy or positive zealousy. If it is completely directed l'shem shamayim, without any personal inclination whatsoever, completely l'shem shamayim, well, there is room and there is place for this zealousy. That's called positive. However, if it is a zealousy or an act of lack of control, of destructive urges that will come for a moral deterioration. You don't have to look far, you just look around you. And the Jew should be able to say no. If somebody gives you a little pencil to smoke, or a spliff, or a reefer, or whatever you call this poison, you should be able to say, no, I don't do that. That behavior would lead to a greater deterioration and to a complete destruction of you and your society and everything around you. You don't believe what I'm saying? Well, you go outside and you go look around. You don't have to go far. But if you really want to go to Appalachia, go see what happened over there with the meth labs and the Oxycontin the factories that they have there. And half of the United States is completely wasted. And that's why things look the way they look. And by the way, that's what happens in our society. We want drugs to be able to allow us to take the edge so we can break the taboos. So the government gives us drugs and makes all kind of sexual immoralities. And that's why we look the way we look. And the society looks the way it looks. And it falls down. I mean, look at Rome. That's exactly what happened. Look in China. That's exactly what happened. Everybody had 15,000 concubines and everybody was high on opium. That's what happened. Destruction of society. So that uncontrolled zealousy of lack of self-control would lead you to self-destruction and societal destruction as well. And this is maybe the reason that Shimon does not really get a Nachala in Eretz Israel, as it brought in Sefer Yehoshua, chapter
15.
19, verse
6.
9. You're close. It says, כי היה חלק בני יהודה רב מהם והנחלו בני שמעון בתוך נחלתם. That בני Shimon got swallowed by the tribe of Yehuda. In other words, whoever is not able and willing to control himself or herself or itself does not get a nachala in Eretz Yisrael. Rabotai, it's scary, it's dangerous. For all the lack of control is being practiced in Eretz Yisrael, I am concerned. God forbid we're going to lose the country for that. For lack of morality. For crooked ways. You know how we call it in Israel, crooked ways? Kombinot. Kombinatia, you know. You scratch my back, I scratch your leg, you know. You lose the way like this. You go to exile and you lose your right to Eretz Israel. You don't own the land. The land was given to you on a condition that you would practice the way you should be. Moral society. Values. Virtues that are unquestionable. You don't do that? Hasta la vista, baby. I don't think we could allow another exile like this. And if we say Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim, that's what we could say about the achievements of Am Yisrael when they are achieved in a wrong and non-kosher ways. And worst of all is Shfichat Damim, killing. Look, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 years after the story of Yaakov Avinu, even David HaMelech, King David himself, recognized that and says twice, as he calls himself Ish Milchamot, Asher Dam Larov, a person of war that spilled a lot of blood. He says he's not appropriate, and he's also not allowed to build the temple. The temple, and whatever is the significance of that, is not built on spilling blood, is not built on such uncontrolled emotions. It built on the way of Yaakov. And first of all, before you go, if you want to win, you have to make sure that morally you are intact. If not, you're going to lose. Do I think that terrorists should go and get the death penalty? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, if you are an injured terrorist on the floor and you are not facing a threat to anyone, you don't have any right to put a bullet in his head as much as you would like to, and I could understand that, but you don't do it. You lose the country like this. And we should understand that the concept of nekama, of revenge, has a place in Judaism. Okay? Has a place in Judaism. But that revenge has to be clean from anything else that is not L'Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heavens. Any personal agendas, there's no room for it. Only when it's direct L'Shem Shamayim. And as long as we are not able to direct our actions Klape Shamayim, we are not allowed, Rabotai, to revenge. Why? Because it's going to affect and going to bring about all the bad in you, and is going to overwhelm you, and is going to lose control, and there's no point to it. So you need to work on yourself. You need to work on your midot, on your character, on your virtues. You have to work hard. You have to be honest. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't self-promote yourself. Don't self-glorify yourself. This is not about you. It's all about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you feel that you did something wrong to someone, or somebody even thinks that you did something wrong to him, even though you didn't do it, instead of making yourself an enemy, make yourself a friend. Go and make up for him. That's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of control. And control is strength. Shabbat Shalom.